Lab Partners Part 2. So we're getting the perspective now of Soyona. It is interesting to see the Atrociraptor pack is not originally together.
Any idea where your camp friends might be?
So, why set up shop in Senegal? I mean,
It's discreet, far from prying eyes.
unlike your Louisiana facility.
That facility was secure.
Guess Atrociraptors don't like cars.
One of yours?
I assume so.
The good shit's up high. Where the fuck are they keeping brachiosaurs in this facility normally?
After I made landfall, I transported the dinos I picked up in Louisiana upriver. We ran into a wicked storm on the voyage over. It took most of my crew, but the loose dinos are the reason I lost my first mate. I delivered those eggs to Dr. Sar like you asked, and I secured the new shipment of dinos in the holding pens below.
Noted. Now, do you happen to know
Like, are
where
you?
the
They keeping
operations-
brachiosaurs
or did you lose
underground?
them
Because that's
at sea as
crazy.
well?
No, not my department. But sounds like another great question for Dr. Sar.
Like, what is that supposed to be? It looks like a Lystrosaurus without back legs. Or some sort of fucking malformed walrus?
pH is at 5, increasing to achieve target range.
And I suppose you have no idea why my dinosaurs are roaming free outside.
That is a question for the operations crew. As for me, my attention has been exclusively devoted to the work which you hired me to undertake.
And what work is that?
Genetic cloning, the creation of life itself. I've made significant progress, far surpassing the meager results of your other facilities.
Confirmation of multiple breeding facilities with new animal cloning going on.
You have more of these places, hiding under those farms the DLN raided.
The DPW proved unreliable, did they not? And that supply was always far from infinite.
Yeah.
Yet the demand for dinosaurs will only increase.
Will it?
And I intend to meet it. With this model, I can take dinosaurs from the wild and use their DNA to create more.
So that implies that the Lystrosaurus was not created here. Like, not first cloned here. That there were wild Lystrosauruses that were harvested to be cloned further. Confirming that these animals are being cloned from living specimens means they are, well, clones of those living specimens. This opens up another avenue in the franchise. I've probably mentioned this previously in these videos. Not this season, but previous season. This opens up another avenue that I wanted to see in the franchise, which is the genetic weakness of some of these dinosaur lines, right? If you're cloning the same individual over and over again, and your breeding population is literally made of like clones of one individual or a handful of individuals, that population is highly susceptible to genetic disorders and disease. I would like to see that. That would be a very interesting thing to see in the franchise, to see that brought up, right? This is always the question I had about like the original movie, right? There's 30, 40 Gallimimus in that film. Did InGen find 30 or 40 different Gallimimus genomes? Or did they find one single Gallimimus and create 30 or 40 clones of it to make a herd? One would presume that they found one. That every Gallimimus in the original Jurassic Park is the same individual, just at different growth stages. There is some individual variation in the herd, though, right? So it makes it a little hard to say that that's actually true. You can explain the spotted Gallimimus as being a juvenile, because that's what it is. But there's some different patterns on the adults as well. So maybe they found 4, 5 Gallimimus genomes. They bred those individuals multiple times. That might make more sense, right? Like, it gives some resilience. Like, do you really want to spend all the time and effort to clone the same animal 40 times for your park if the first time they catch a cold they're gonna all die because they're all susceptible to it? Maybe not. So you could, maybe there's an argument that the animals with higher populations were animals they discovered more than once, and the animals with low populations are all the same individual. If you follow the DPG lore, there's like 3 Triceratopses in the original park. Maybe those are all 3 versions of the same Triceratops. Maybe. This is something I would like to see. I believe there is absolutely no lore on this. Nothing. And this should be explained because it is interesting. Can you imagine if in this show they find a Bumpy clone? Or they go somewhere, right? And there's just like 5 Bumpies running around in a pen. Because that's what this is implied. Like, this is like the first lore that is like, we are reharvesting the same individuals. That would be kind of hilarious if they did that.
Notably absent are the Majungosauruses I was promised. I'll be erasing the DNA from the eggs to prepare them for genetic rewriting next.
What the fuck?
You're erasing the egg's genetic code?
Where are the eggs?
Why would you do that? Wait, that makes
no
no sense. So is this implying that they're harvesting dinosaur eggs because they can't like make their own or whatever? Just hatch the eggs. They already have dinosaurs in them. What are you fucking talking about? What? And erasing the DNA code? How the fuck does that work? That's like erasing a fucking Lego. It's a building block. There's no like base template. It's a fucking DNA nucleotide.
If they're even still viable.
And why wouldn't they be viable?
They may have been compromised during transport.
Yeah, they went in the ocean.
Captain Lang lost them.
Also, again, the Majungosauruses were not cloned by her faction. Where the fuck did they come from? You really should just buy a gun. If that was a gun instead of a laser, he'd be shot and dead and dying.
I told you to wait in Saul's office.
Sorry. I heard screaming and came to see if you were all right. Must have been the, captain. What? What's wrong? That girl down there looks like a friend of ours. Sounds like her too.
No need to be shy. Allow me to introduce the first and only one of her kind, the leucistic baryonyx. I modified her genetic code at the embryonic stage to eliminate her eyes entirely.
Why would you do that?
As a result of the modification,
This is much better than hybrids. Deliberate manipulation of a singular genome into a variation is more interesting. Cool.
her auditory and olfactory senses have developed tenfold to compensate for her lack of vision. And my method should be even more efficient utilizing those eggs. My time is better spent experimenting with new modifications.
That's not your decision to make.
This dinosaur is one of a kind.
But scientists like you are a dime a dozen.
Without me, you are merely a merchant of exotic animals.
Where is my operations crew?
I enlisted them to help train my baryonyx. Unfortunately for them, she has a ferocious prey drive and a healthy appetite for primates.
This guy's nuts!
To your dinosaur.
No great loss. Your operations crew failed to comprehend the magnitude of my work.
This dude's a mad fucking scientist. Wow. No, this is fine. This is fine. I'm okay with it. Not nearly enough mad scientists in this franchise. Should have let that bitch fall. Could have spared us from Dominion. I'm disappointed they killed the mad scientist in a single episode. Well, we didn't hear him die. We heard him
Thank you
scream.
for saving my life.
He may not be dead. He can come back. Drawing this out for dramatic effect when...
Anytime.
Alright, so everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, she actually is evil.
I must confess, I doubted
So
your
that's where-
intentions. Until now.
Might be where we're going in
Experience taught
season
me that
3.
Trust is not a luxury I can afford. But I was wrong about you. You've earned my trust.
We go into season
I had
3
such
with
high
with
hopes
the
for this
campers being
facility.
like,
But
we
one
gotta
must play
stop
the cards one
Brooklyn.
is dealt. Get the eggs from the observation.
and then we'll have a whole drawn out season, and at the end they'll finally meet Brooklyn, and she'll be like, nah, I infiltrated, and they'll be like, oh, okay. Like, she knows, I guess that's the hesitation, right? Because she knows they're watching. But all she has to do is tell Ben. So, like, if they do actually draw this out with the notion that she's evil, I was joking, but, like, there's no reason for this to be drawn out. Ben should know. She should explain it to him. Right here.
Brooklyn!
Ben?
Brooklyn!
I just need enough evidence to send Santos to jail for the rest of her life.
Like, we know this doesn't work, too. This is the prequel problem, right? We know Santos doesn't go to jail for the rest of her life because she's in Dominion. It undermines the plot line. This is just a universal problem with anything that's a prequel. You could do a prequel that doesn't tie into the main plot of whatever the main series is, and then it has its own stakes. But if you tie it into the main storyline and it's a prequel, you have to work overtime to make it work. Because everybody knows how things turn out.
I have other plans in the works, ones that don't require this facility. So I'll destroy it and bring it down in a heap of rubble. It will be as though it nor anything in it ever existed.
Maybe this is going in the direction where Brooklyn has to make the choice between her plan of revealing Santos and saving her friends, and then the plotline can separate away from Santos and very quickly wrap up why Santos is not in prison as of Dominion, right? If they do that, that'll be a good example of what I said about the prequel problem, right? We know Santos doesn't go to jail, so there's not much stake. We don't have much investment. There's not much of a stake in Brooklyn gathering this evidence to put her away. So if the conclusion of this arc is Brooklyn having to give up on that, then they've sidestepped the prequel problem by touching upon a plot point, expanding it, but not making it a central part of the plot, and resolving it in a way that has a point and is consistent with the larger franchise.